Today marks the 3rd year anniversary of this very silly channel, and as I do every year, I gave you the chance to ask me anything you want. After 1 year, I had 10,000 subscribers. After 2, I had just over 20,000. So this year, logically, I have nearly 70,000. Jesus Christ. There are 10 times as many questions this year as last year on my YouTube post, and a considerable amount more on Discord. So I won't be able to respond to every single one. There are a fair few repeated or very similar questions that I've answered with the first one that I came across on that topic. There's some that I just don't really have an answer for or don't have much of an opinion on. And there are some questions that are just weird, and I worry for your sanity. And if I'm the one who's worried about your sanity, you've got problems. If you have any other questions that aren't answered here, I'll try and answer as many as I can in the comments as well. But there's a ton to get through, so let's get started. Would you consider adding Imperial agents or knights as allies to your Screaming Ravens? If so, would you kitbash them to match your aesthetic? Yes, I have plans to add a Lancer to the Screaming Ravens at some point, probably using a Gunpla. It's been an idea in my head for a while. I'm sure I'll get around to it, like with all my other projects. What's your favorite and least favorite part of the actual hobby itself, such as building, kitbashing, various steps of the painting phase? I actually think painting is my least favorite part of the hobby. Painting is kind of a pain in the ass, to be honest. I'm much better at ideas than actually doing things. What would you do if Centurions get moved to Legends, and what measures will you take to ensure they stay and get buffed? Well, I'm trying my best to make sure they stay and get buffed by using them literally as much as possible. If they get moved to Legends, I've kind of discussed that in the Centurion video, which you can watch here. It is what it is. How do you feel about becoming a voice of authority in the hobby space in a very short amount of time? I don't know if I'm a voice of authority. I'm certainly a voice. Whether that's got authority to it is a different matter. I do find it very funny when I see anything Centurion related and everyone just goes, oh, it's Paul. But my very favorite thing is people going, who the fuck is Paul? Who is Paul? Why are people saying Paul? That's my favorite part. If you can build a second army that is Space Marine related, which faction would you choose? So I've got my Thousand Sons and my Drukhari armies, or you can watch the video I just released, which released after you asked this question. So obviously you to know that I had a video coming out about this, but that video. What are the best kit bashes you've seen in person, whether that be at a tournament or LGS, and will you be kit bashing the new Raven Guard model? I don't think I'll be kit bashing the new Raven Guard model because it just looks awesome. I will obviously be wearing the helmet because otherwise that would be stupid. The best kit bashes I've ever seen in person have been these Chaos Knights, these horrific baby abominations. I don't even know what these are, but they're amazing and horrific. Well, which tournament has been your favorite? Which army do you enjoy the most, and who was your favorite person to play against, if you can remember? I don't have a favorite person I've played against. I think all my opponents have been great, so that's been very positive. My favorite tournament has probably been the South Coast Super Major, just because it was my first big one, and I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would, and it's kind of given me the itch to go and play more, and meeting a lot of people there. So I think just that's probably my favorite because it's got a special place in my heart. What is your favorite piece of lore or random line from a book? Probably my favorite piece of lore or random line from a book is the entirety of The Infinite and the Divine. So go read that. It's very funny. Will you add Desolators, the perfect loud marine squad, to the Screaming Ravens, / add more to the Screaming Ravens? I'll always probably add more to Screaming Ravens. In fact, I have some on my painting desk that have been staring at me for far too long. Gonna have to get them done by the end of the week. I do have Desolators. I bought the box with Desolators and then they were instantly nerfed and I kind of never built them. I may add them at some point. Right now though, they don't really fit into my list. Do you think your 18 Centurion list will be able to go undefeated at a grand tournament? Not win the whole thing, but at least get an undefeated record. If I win one game and leave, that counts as an undefeated record. But actually, maybe. I think they actually could, but probably if I do get that far into a grand tournament, the better players will just kick the shit out of me. But I do think it has some legs. Maybe if I get really lucky, a good run of dice luck and opponent luck, possibly. I have a Warhammer army, but I'm scared to get into learning the rules of 40k. Any ideas on how to make it easier for me? The easiest way to get into something like 40k is to have someone help you and teach you, which I know is not exactly possible for everyone. I do have an idea for a video, which may come out at some point in the future, where I basically do teach the rules of 40k in a weird way, but I haven't got that fully realized yet. So maybe look out for that. What would you have to say is your greatest lore drop from the Screaming Ravens? There's two, I think. One is about their gene seed defect, which is what makes them the Screaming Ravens, is the fact they cannot audibly make noise that isn't earth-shatteringly loud, and they can do mimicry very well, which just means they use sign language. And apparently, according to a certain lore video I watched recently, because I didn't know about it, Raven Guard already has sign language. So they have their own little different sign language, like a different dialect of sign language, you know, like the difference between British sign language and American sign language, for example. The other one, people ask me a lot about whether they can make a Screaming Raven army or whether they can tell stories about Screaming Ravens in their lore. What I like about the Screaming Ravens is I think they're probably a fairly weird splinter fleet, and they're all over the galaxy. They've just kind of split up a load, and that allows you or someone else who wants to add them to lore to have Screaming Ravens somewhere nearby, because they're just all over the place. They're like in little splinters. They all still connect. They're not like lost to each other, but I like the idea of the Screaming Ravens being this kind of almost mercenary Mercantile? No, that's buying stuff. They spread out across the galaxy and just kind of help in places every so often when they're needed, which I think is cool. I think that allows them to be what I want them to be, which is something that allows the community and other people to get involved in the Screaming Remnants, which is also why, you know, all of their markings are different. So you can paint them however you want, but they can look however you want. It's very much a kind of free and open thing. There are some things that are non-negotiable, which will eventually make its rounds in the Mercantile, right, I'm sure. How are you going to segue into a tabletop stronghold to play response time this time? I don't know. I'll work it out. I don't really know, to be honest. Where should one go and buy a carry case from for their minis, and how are they not just sliding around? That's a good question. I don't know. I'll look into it for you. What do you think about Chaos Space Marines, especially the undivided ones, and if you ever start to collect them, what Legion units would you choose and why? I think Chaos Space Marines are cool. I really like them. I think if I were to collect them, I would probably have some sort of Vashtor-based demon engine one, or maybe Night Lords, or a bit of both, like what happened with the chat game I played, where you made the weirdest list in the world. If you could enter the 40k universe, which faction would you prefer to be in? Xenos and Chaos are both valid. I would actually, now this is going to be a controversial take, I would actually prefer to be in the Imperial Guard, because my life wouldn't last that long and I'd get out of that universe very quickly. Opinion on Blood Bowl? I think Blood Bowl is cool. I like the idea. I have no idea about the rules and stuff, so I will probably want to look into it at some point. They seem fun. What would you do if the Astro Militarum got Centurion-like units that were better than the original? I would be very salty. What are your top 5 favorite video games all time? Ocarina of Time, Link to the Past, F-Zero X, Banjo-Kazooie, Mario 64. I think. If Centurions get Primaris-ified, what would you like to see in their new kit? What elements of the units are non-negotiable, and what could, and a risk of accusation of heresy here, be improved to make it even more brilliant? I think they have to remain chonky, obviously, and I think the main thing will just be poses. The one thing that Centurions don't have much of is much posing, because they are kind of just static key posing blocks. Maybe some better poses, maybe something more dynamic. A superhero landing would be very cool. Out of all of your Centurions, which one is your favorite and least favorite? My favorite squad, I think, is my 6-man Ocarina of Time squad. My least favorite? I don't have a least favorite. I can't choose. They're all my children, and I love them equally. Apart from the one I just said, I love a bit more than the other. What is your favorite, least favorite Games Workshop choice when it comes to the hobby in general? Gameplay, lore, business? I don't really have one. I don't really talk about, you know, Games Workshop that much and good and bad things to do, because I just can't be bothered. I mean, my favorite thing about Games Workshop is the fact that they make the game, and the game is cool, and I like it. My least favorite, the price. That gets clicks, right? How is the Magnus 2.0 the best carry case for 40k? Just because it is. And no, that's not the segue. What are some models that you almost dread to see on the other side of the table? Not necessarily because you dislike them, but because you know you'll have to address that and it will warp your whole plan around it, if that makes sense. Love your videos. Happy 3rd anniversary. Thank you very much. Anything like the Lion or any sort of big thing like that, I do like seeing them on the other side of the table, but I do dread to see them. Or anything that can really take out Centurions, or anything that can lock up Centurions. So basically, most things in the entire game. Have you ever considered playing Age of Sigmar or Spearhead? And if so, what army would you play? I have played Spearhead. I've played a couple of games. There's a video on that. I do want to play more Spearhead. I have just not had time. I do really like Age of Sigmar and Spearhead. I think they're really cool. At some point, I may try and build up an army for an Age of Sigmar tournament. I don't know. If so, what armies would I play? I played the Stormcast Eternals Spearhead, and I have a load of Gits. I have a bunch of unbuilt Soulblade Gravelords, and if I were to get another Spearhead, I'd probably get the Seraphon one. Any painted tips you can give to newcomers who have never painted before, or maybe even tips for those who have been painted for a while? No. Well, no tips for people who've been painting for a while. My painting is still pretty bad. The tips I can give to a newcomer is just start, but take your time. Don't rush into it. Try it and get some basic stuff down. There's something really weird about painting, right? I've been learning to dance with... And the one thing from that I realized is stuff like playing the game of 40k and painting are very weird things to learn, because you learn them by doing them from the get-go. There's no ramping up. You don't get to learn. It's hard to learn the basic steps for something like painting, right? Because you don't exactly have spare models. You can really invest into learning the basics and doing reps on the basics, right? But maybe there should be a way of doing that. I don't know. Learning how to thin your paints and getting that feeling just takes time, which sucks because it means that you have to paint models, which means you're not wasting money, but the money you're spending on models is put into what could potentially be a inferior thing. But don't worry about that. If you can get some spare minis, either from the GW stores with them minis of the month or the free minis you can pick up just to practice on, or even just practicing on the sprues, that's probably a good way to start. But just pick up a brush and get going is the main things. Recommendations for improving early on in playing, either legit help or something else you choose. And illegitimate help. Shoot your opponent with a gun. I think the thing that I've learned a lot is just by playing games against good opponents, you learn so much. So that the more you play, the quicker you'll learn. Playing someone who's really good will give you something going into your next game. So that's the thing that you're going to learn a lot. What would you like to see squaring up to Space Marines in the 11th edition launch box, and what kits would you like to see updated, added to the Space Marine side? I'd like to see what we had before. We had Necrons, and then we had Tyranids. So it seems to be Xenos. I guess it's going to be Xenos again. Orcs, Drukhari, they'd both be nice to have. Anything really, I quite like it. What would you like to see added to the Space Marine side? I don't think there's any archetypes that Space Marines really need? Obviously, keep striking Centurions would be great. Paul, how do you say bad at stuff? General incompetence. We all know you love Centurions and Storm Raven Gunship. What is your third favorite unit? In Space Marines, probably Vanguard Vets or Blade Guard. Both of them are very, very cool. How is Magnus coming along? How dare you ask me that question? I haven't done the base yet. If you had to make a balanced combat patrol for Screamer Ravens, what would be in the box of Sports and Centurions? I have also thought about this for the supplement, and I think I had written one down. I'm recording this live to try and answer as many questions as possible, so I'll just put it up on screen. Hi, Paul. Hello. As someone who's not big on actually playing the game, despite playing the models for the past 4 years, what are your top 3 favorite elements in playing the game, or what is your favorite rule in the game? That's a very good question. My top 3 favorite elements of playing the game. In fact, I've answered this question in a video, haven't I? Those 3 things. But I think digging deeper into this question, I think the actual 3 favorite elements are I like the list building. I like coming up with fun ways of constructing an army with a fun gimmick. I like thinking about what I need to do and how to do it. And I like rolling dice, especially when they do funny things. Are you going to use new chapter master Aethon Shaan in your list? We'll definitely get the model. Whether I will use him will obviously depend on his rules. There has been a brief preview since this question was asked. If you had one piece of advice for 40k, tabletop painting or building, that you wish you knew before starting, what would it be? I don't actually know, to be honest. I don't think any advice that I would give to me starting would be useful. Buying less stuff would be nice, but I doubt I'd follow that advice. Not stopping a project before it's finishing. That's the main thing, because I've had so many things where I've gone, oh, I've done a bit of painting. You know, I've got this squad halfway done. That's the end of the session. I'll come back to it another time. And then it's a month later and I move on to something else. And then I've just got loads and loads of half-finished shit. That's the most annoying part. What is your opinion on Kroots? I think Kroots are really cool. That's it. What are your goals for next year on the channel? Also, Leggy, Screaming Raven, when? Leggy, Screaming Raven would be interesting, but I don't know how I'd do that. Maybe the Gunpla Lancer would be part of that. What are my goals for next year on the channel? Just continue the growth and making this more sustainable. At the moment, the channel is doing well, having gone full time, but I think the goal for next year is to make sure to solidify that, branch out a bit more. We'll see. We'll see where it goes. Which faction, not counting Imperial Guard, would you want to build, paint, play the least? Probably Genestealer cults. And I really like Genestealer cults, but they seem really complicated. And also painting them seems like an absolute pain. Maybe the other one here would be Admech, but if I played Admech, I would just play Castle Robots, and that's a lot easier. Devastator or Assault Centurions, which do you like more? Hard question. It's actually not that hard of a question because it's something I have had to think about quite a lot. My brain says Devastator Centurions, my heart says Assault. I'm gonna get a Land Raider to transport the Centurions. I think a Spartan would actually help. Land Raiders are very, very good for transporting Centurions, but I don't want one because they're big. I can't be bothered to paint it, and as much as the assault ramp would be really nice, I'd kind of like the repulsors. And at the moment, my list has 0 vehicles, so I don't really need one right now. How or has the transition to full-time YouTuber changed your attitude around the hobby or your opinion towards it? Not really. The main thing is because I spend so much time making videos about the hobby, I don't have time to do stuff for the hobby, which is a bit of a pain. Other than that, my opinion hasn't really changed. I think the one thing that my attitude is different to everyone else's in terms of being a content creator is I don't make much negative content, if you see what I mean. And that hasn't changed. I haven't gone, and I probably will not go towards that side of being more negative towards the game and towards stuff, because that will get clicks, but it's also not what I want to put on the internet. So even though this has become a full-time job where doing something like that would be a good business decision potentially, it's still not for me. So I think it's more my attitude around YouTubing has been more solidified rather than anything else. Do you like sand? No, it's rough and coarse and gets everywhere. Unlike the Magnus Super O from tabletop.stronghold.com. That's right, this is the segue to the sponsor time. If you want the best way to store and transport your minis or want some awesome MDF terrain, then you need look no further than tabletop.stronghold.com. Magnus Super O is an incredible carry case that keeps your minis safe and secure with the power of magnets. Right now in the Labor Day sale, you can get 30% off, and there is free shipping to the USA, Canada, UK, Australia, New Zealand, and most of the EU. So go to tabletop.stronghold.com right now to get yourself a bag case 2.0 of MDF terrain. Links are in the description, and thank you once again for sponsoring. I might have missed it in your earlier videos. What is the lore progress on your other 40k armies? So lore-wise, I don't have much for my other armies. Thousand Suns is Thousand Suns. I don't have my own custom stuff for that. Drukhari, I haven't really thought too much about, and the progress on either of those has been slim to none due to the Screaming Ravens taking up a lot of my time. Although I am towards the end of probably finishing up with the Screaming Ravens once I've painted these guys. I mean, there's probably going to be bits and bobs, but I don't think I need that many more other units. I think I'm getting to the point where my list for the Screaming Ravens is pretty solid, so maybe I'll be looking into my other armies soon. What is one unit you would like to get added to any army, not to new Centurion variant? One unit I'd like to get added to any army. Orc Skateboard. If you had to use another Space Marine named character as part of the Screaming Ravens instead of Cave and Shrike, who would it be and why? Good question. I guess I could go with the new Raven Guard one because that's cheating, but I imagine you probably want something else. So I would say... Maybe one of the Blood Angels ones. Dante's pretty cool. Oh, how do I make a good army list? See, the joke is that Age of Sigmar is an excellent and fun list idea, and I want to make stupid shit like that. It's actually quite simple. You find the things you like, you put them in a list. You go play a game, you go, wow, that was a shit idea, and then you fiddle about with it forever until you find an idea that's not so shit. Have you tried any other war games outside of GW ecosystem? If yes, how did you like them? If no, why not? I have tried one-page rules. I played a bit of Marvel Crisis Patrol. I played Gaslands, which is kind of a war game, but not really. One-page rules I do like. A lot of people say, you know, oh, you should play one-page rules, and I do get it. It's fun, but also it's so different from 40k. I don't see it as a replacement. I see it as just another game. There's also a couple of things. I've not played one-page rules in a while, so, and there was a couple of things I didn't quite like about it. I managed to win a game because my Demon Prince ran away because of a failed battle shock test, but that meant that my opponent didn't have enough things on the board to kill for his kill mission, which meant I won, which is weird. What is your favorite Chaos Guard, or what do you think is best? Tzeentch is my favorite, because Tzeentch is cool, and birds are cool, and Magnus is cool. What's your favorite loyal Space Marine faction besides Raven Guard? I actually like Ultramarines from the books. They seem pretty cool, but I probably wouldn't say they were my favorite. Salamanders are kind of cool because flames and fire. I actually don't know this one, to be honest. I just like Raven Guard. I think the rest are just okay. Why did you choose Raven Guard for your army instead of sticking to Drukhari? Kind of new, so if you answer this, my bad. It was kind of an accident. I think I have mentioned this in a couple of videos, but it's scattered around. But essentially, I wanted to make the Screaming Ravens as a joke. I started building it for a crusade, and then I wanted to play 12 Centurions at tournaments and 18 Centurions at tournaments. That kind of was the thing that pivoted me away from my Drukhari into my Screaming Ravens. Where did the new Votann Definitely Not Centurions go on your faction Centurion tier list? I think they're more Secretile robots, right? They're definitely cool. I do like them. They are probably the most Centurion-like thing. I think they go mid-table. I kind of like them. They're pretty cool. Do you plan to try the Gundam tabletop game? When it comes out, maybe. Probably. Yeah, I don't know. Yes? Why am I answering this question so weird? Yes, I will. Sure, why not? When will you be playing your extremely tall stilt boy in a game? I don't have an AdMech army, so that's -1 point. Also, I need to make it, you know, stable. A lot of people said about a heavy weight in the bottom. I don't think that works, because the problem isn't the weight at the bottom. The problem is the fact that there's weight at the top. And even if the weight at the bottom is heavier than the weight at the top, the weight at the top will move the very, very thin legs, because it's just two. It really needs a third leg. I think having a tripod would make more sense, but then it wouldn't be just Leggy boy. So, but I will try it out. I'll try and make him stable. Would you rather fight 1 Centurion-sized Tzaangor or 20 Tzaangor-sized Centurions? Tzaangors are huge. You know Tzaangors are big, right? Like, 1 Centurion-sized Tzaangor is just a slightly bigger Tzaangor. 20 Tzaangor-sized Centurions are just 20 slightly smaller Centurions. I'll take the 1 Tzaangor. Would you rather fight 1 Centurion-sized Duck or 100 Duck-sized Centurions? At least this is better than the Tzaangor one, because these are considerably different sizes. Probably 1 Centurion-sized Duck, because 100 Duck-sized Centurions still have a lot of firepower. I think a las cannon from a Duck-sized las cannon would still hurt, so I could possibly take a Duck. What are your thoughts on using new Saturnine Terminators as Centurion Proxies? Kitbash 2 kits together. I have that kit. I still need to sort it out. I think without the shoulder pads, they look cooler and probably more Centurion Proxy-like. So that's probably what I'll do. Have you considered Stealth Baneblade? I have now. I played Dawn of War 1. If you have, did you like it? I played Dawn of War 1. Oh, God, I was, you know, as a child when it came out in, what, 2004? That was a long time ago. I remember liking it. I should probably play the remaster at some point. What, in your opinion, is the least interesting faction out of all of 40k? I don't know if there's any that are the least interesting. I don't know enough about the lore to really dig into it. You'd probably expect to say Guard, but Guard are legitimately, there's a lot of story to Guard, and there's quite a lot of interesting things there. It's just not stuff that I personally am interested in. So I actually don't know, to be honest. Maybe Tyranids, because the thing with Tyranids is they can't be that interesting because they are just a force of nature. You can't have too much deep lore and character and conflict within the Tyranids when they're just a hive fleet that is there to kill you. It's like a volcano or an earthquake. There's nothing really interesting there apart from it being the force of nature, which is interesting. If you think about lore and conflict and storytelling, they're probably the least interesting as a faction, but not in terms of the wider 40k universe, right? An earthquake as an earthquake isn't that interesting. The earthquake in the context of the world and what it does is interesting and also tragic. Let's not forget that. You know what I mean. Paul, how do you get inspiration on painting your minis? As I have 1,000 points Space Marine army and want to not paint all of them in ultramarine color. Most of it is just nostalgia, to be honest. I usually have an idea based on some nostalgia thing and then go from there. Or there's other weird gimmicks that I've done. Some of it has just been different colors. Some of it has been different styles. It's mostly just what I would find funny. Okay, so if Centurions get a legend hammer and they don't get Primaris counterparts, are you considering switching main army to Trials of Suns or Drukhari? No, probably not. I'll probably stick with the Screaming Ravens. Obviously, if I could play a game with legends, I would continue using Centurions. But I mean, that is essentially 1,000 points of my list that has now been freed up for something else, which could be just as silly. What faction do you think is the most edible? Do you mean in terms of the models or in terms of in-universe? Because in terms of the models, don't eat plastic. In terms of in-universe, Tyranids, I guess. Do you prefer cats or dogs? I prefer dogs, but I do like cats. Who is the Paul mentioned in your YouTube name? It's me. I'm the Paul. Do you think I was talking about someone else? Do you think my name was something else and I was saying, oh, this other guy called Paul is bad at stuff? No, I'm Paul. I'm bad at stuff. How dare you? Yo, bro. Sup? What's your thoughts on showing games that don't feature the Banshee birds? You stated that you have both Dark Elder and Thousand Suns before. Is there a reason we don't see them outside of some comparison painting videos? The reason is because I don't play enough games with them. When I go to tournaments, because I'm trying to make the Aethon Centurions work, and that's where I play most of the games, that's the stuff I am reviewing, or those are the games that I'm showing. I have shown a couple of Thousand Suns and Drukhari games, but that was back before I did like the more full battle report stuff. So never say never, but I think once I've done a bit more of the Scream of Raven stuff and maybe taken some of these other things to a tournament, the main thing is obviously when I'm playing games with friends, it's a bit more free to use stuff that isn't painted. We're going to a tournament, stuff has to be painted. I do not have much painted Thousand Suns of Drukhari, I'll tell you that for free. Hey Paul, how did it feel being killed by Bricky, a notorious guard player? Did you learn a lesson? No. I'll never learn my lesson. Hi, my merc. Does the wife play? Either way, what piques her interest? She does not play the game, and I doubt I will ever be able to get her into the game. It's just not the kind of thing she likes. What she likes is reading. I did try getting her to read one of the books, and she started it, and she seemed to enjoy it, and then she stopped. So that's unfortunate. Where are the battle reports? I haven't played many games because it's just been really unfortunate timing. I was actually getting, a tournament in a month at my local one in Winchester, but then due to the wedding stuff, I missed a couple because of just weekends. I have one coming up as this video comes out in like 2 days, and I'm also going to London GT. I also have another one next year that I've already got planned. So there will be more battle reports coming soon. I know those are things that people like, and those are things that get views. So they will be coming back. I hate Centurions. Fuck you. I don't know though. Why do you hate Guard? There's a whole video about it here. And also, I can see the stats, by the way. I can see how many people made it to the end of the video. And I can see from the comments how many people didn't watch the full video. Because at the end of the video, I say I like a Guard. I just don't want to collect them. Got somewhere I can send my 3 piles of shame since I probably can't make the stream due to time zone. Yeah, that's on the Discord. You can send it on the Discord, and even if you won't be there in the stream, you can watch the VOD. On my VOD channel. What's it like being bald? There's positives and negatives of being bald. One, I don't have to worry about a hairstyle because I do not know what to do with hair. I've never had a good hairstyle. But on the flip side, I have to shave it like every few days because the problem is I'm balding. Balding sucks. Being bald is fine because it's just you have no hair, and when I shave my head, that is what I am. Not being bald is fine because you have hair. Balding looks shit, and so in order to not look like you're balding, you have to shave your head. I have really thick hair that grows really quickly, but only at the back and the sides, which is just Will you try as hard as humanly possible to get your wife into Warhammer, not Tau or Guard? I will specifically try and get my wife to play just Tau or Guard. I don't think she's going to go for it. I think she would probably prefer, I don't know, maybe I'll ask her. She's not here right now. She's at work. Maybe I'll ask her if she was to get into Warhammer, what her favorite one would be, and then I'll put it in here. Or I'll forget and not ask her, and then I'll just make up one, and you'll never know. Apart from when she watches this video, realizes that I'd never asked her the question, and I've made something up, and...
From the moment I understood the weakness of my flesh, it disgusted me.
I'll probably... Listen... Next question. Hot dogs or sausages? Sausages. 100%. Bangers and mash? Oh, gravy? Oh, yeah, a bit of gravy on that. Perfect. Why are you not ginger? I don't know, genetics, I guess. Do you think you'll ever be good at stuff? I mean, the problem with that is maybe. I guess it's up for interpretation. As people get better at something, they then think they are worse at the thing. So, probably not. Why do you hate Guard? They're better than Space Marines. First of all, you spelled there wrong, so write that down. Second of all, fuck you. I've got a simple question. How long does it take for you to paint one mini? Like, say, a regular infantry / character unit. Funny you should say that. I have a video on this coming out soon. Do you have any kind of favorite dice set, color, or marking? Do you have a lucky set for important rolls? Or do you not believe in your dice, fortune, or misfortune? Oh, no, my dice are very unlucky. Well, I say that. My dice probably rolled fairly average. In fact, I know they don't because I've actually rolled my dice a bunch of times and made notes for it for a video that never came out. My dice are weird. They roll a lot of 1s and lots of 6s, but at the wrong time. I don't really have a most favorite set. I do like my Tabletop Tactics dice and my Thousand Suns dice, but I have a load of dice because I just like collecting them because they're cool. Since you did a video on how you feel about Guard, will you do videos on how you feel about other factions? Maybe. I don't really have as strong opinions on the other factions, I guess, so it might not be as interesting, but never say never. How many unpainted models / boxes do you have? So what does your pile of shame look like? It's mostly big stuff at this point. I have a lot of smaller unopened boxes, but that's a lot of kit bashing materials. I have quite a lot of magazine stuff because it was cheap, but the main thing is I have quite a lot of big box stuff. I still have half of a Skaven side to do. I have the Warp Thrall, whatever it's called, Warpbane Thrall Band. I've got Saturnine. You know, there's the big boxes in there, but they're for upcoming videos, so technically they are business expenses. Are you still silently praying for new Drukhari models for your army, or do you completely abandon them? Oh, no, I did not abandon them. I do like Drukhari. I am just waiting to see what comes out, because yes, they need a lot of new models. My God. When it comes to kits, which one is your white whale? The one you can't find anywhere, but having it becomes a need and not a want. I don't actually have one, to be honest. I think all the models I have or want are either I either already have them or they're easily accessible. I don't think there's any that I can't get access to that I've been searching for. What's your favorite model you painted this year? Ooh, I don't know, actually. What models have I painted this year? And there he sat for far too long, thinking about the models he's painted. I'll tell you what it is. It's my... Did I paint those this year? I must have painted those this year. No, yeah, my Blade Guard squad. If you could change one thing about 40k, whether it be lore, tabletop, or anything else, what would it be and why? Change one thing? I don't think I... Oh, I'll tell you what I will change. One thing I do want to change is line of sight should be base to base or base to hull. No more sticky out guns. Just base to base is so clean. It's easy. It doesn't matter what's on top of the base. It allows you to be more free with your kit bashes and hobby side stuff. That was the one thing when I looked in the Horus Heresy rules that made a lot of sense. Was it like, this is the hull, not the gun is not a hull. The hull is the hull. Stop trying to argue about that shit. Also, it's base to base. Do that for 40k. If you were asked to voice act a named Warhammer character, which one would it be and why? Which one could I voice? I'm not a voice actor, so one that has very few lines. What is your favorite cheese? Halloumi, because it's the only cheese that's good. If you had to be a guard player, what would you collect/run? Those of basilisks. I like Bastards, they're cool. If you don't follow the lore much, essentially which looks coolest to you? Night Lords or Alpha Legion? Night Lords look badass. Lightning Claws. Do you have any interest in collecting playing other wargames such as Trench Crusade, Star Wars, Legion, Infinity, or Malifaux? I don't know. Well, I definitely have interest in playing other wargames. Collecting is a different thing. I think I do want to look at other games at some point. I do think a lot of them have some cool stuff. But again, it's just a timing factor. What are the things you're hoping for 11th edition of 40k? New gameplay elements or large rules changes? I like 10th. I think it just needs a little bit of tuning up here and there. Base to base is definitely one big one. I don't want the psychic phase back as a psychic phase. I think there are some more things you could do with psychic in, like with Age of Sigmar and like command phase and other phases. I can see why people don't like it being removed because of stuff like your weapons are just psychic weapons with a psychic tag and that doesn't do a whole lot. You want a bit more choice in there. But I do also like it's a bit more streamlined in that regard. I don't think we need a full psychic phase back, but I would like to see more stuff expanded on in the command phase and that kind of thing. So probably that. Are you going to play some other 40k video games at some point, like the Dawn of War games? Yeah, I definitely want to play Dawn of War, the Dawn of War remaster and Dawn of War 4. And I want to play through, because I never really finished Bolt Gun. And Mechanicus 2 when it comes out is definitely what I'm going to play. I love Mechanicus 1. Which is better, pink or purple? Purple is my favorite color, so purple. Would you take the job of the Emperor of Mankind for an unlimited supply of models? The throne has a built-in painting station. No. That's like two bad things. I don't want a limited supply of models, and I don't want to be the Emperor of Mankind. So there's a big red button, and every time you press it, you get more Centurions, but one person who likes Centurions dies. By the way, the Centurions have the power of magnets. I'm going to be pedantic. You didn't actually ask a question. You just said there is this button. I'm assuming you're asking, would I press it? The answer is no. Thoughts on Tyranids, and would you ever try playing them in the future? I think Tyranids are really cool. They're one of the armies I was trying to get into when I was a kid. I do think they're really fun. Whether I'll get around to ever playing them, again, never say never. But not likely in the near future. How much money would I have to pay you to not be bold? I guess how much is a hair transplant? And then give me 10 times that much, and then I won't bother. I'll just take the money and run. Can I have a hug, please? Yes? I mean, not from me. I'm a 2D image on a screen. Unless you want to hug your screen. I guess if anyone wants to hug your screen right now. What's your opinion on Kill Team? I really enjoyed the few games of Kill Team I played. It's just I haven't managed to play any of the latest edition, and it seems cool. If you make your own faction, neither 40k or AOS, what would it be? I guess Screaming Ravens doesn't really count, kind of, but not really. My own faction? I guess I'd make something completely new and throw it in there, but I couldn't think off the top of my head what that would be. I'll get back to you on this one. Have you ever eaten at least one Magcase 2.0? If you could delete any faction besides Guard, what would it be and for what reason? Why do you think Space Wolves will be better than Thousand Suns? Number one, no, it's far too strong, it'll hurt my teeth. 2, why don't you allow me to delete Guard? What's wrong with you? And 3, no. Will you ever buy a box of Guardsmen just to use them as base decorations? If so, what kind of decorations of what models? I'd buy a box of Guardsmen for the base if I get a Stomper, and I'd just put them all underneath the foot of the Stomper with a nice blood pile. Opinion on the new Nightbringer? Cool as fuck. If you could choose the next Loyalist and Chaos Primarchs to get 40k models and rules, what would they be? I'd probably choose Lorgar and Corvus, just because it'd be funny. How much longer must we wait for the Screaming Ravens Hammerfall bunker reveal? A little longer, don't worry, it's just around the corner. Where did you play your first Warhammer game at? I mean, my very first was probably when I was a kid at my own house. The one that actually got me into the game, though, was at Steve's, where we played a 500-point game of Drukhari versus Death Guard. Would you make a community kit bash video? As in, kit bashing the community into a weird Cronenberg creature? That sounds a bit... I'd get views. I might try that. Watch out. Paul, what are your goals for the brand new shiny channel? The gaming channel, I'm basically hoping becomes monetized at some point. It's already got over 1,000 subscribers, so thank you. I like playing video games. The gaming stuff does not do well on this channel because this channel is definitely more of a Warhammer, Gumpler, that kind of thing. And YouTube doesn't like that. So my plan is to basically just be able to have another avenue for my creativity in a different space. Mostly at the moment, it's going to be just trying to play games that I've not played before and learn them by trial and error, which is a lot of fun. But I have some ideas for some more, I guess, complete videos, complete series. But if that's the kind of thing you enjoy, or you just like listen to me ramble, then go watch those. Will you be going to the LVO this upcoming October? So that's the Las Vegas Open. No, I don't know if I ever will. Just because going to an international tournament is quite daunting. I'm going to the London GT, which is going to be the first time I'm actually having to go away and stay in a hotel for a tournament, which is going to be quite weird. So never say never, but maybe I could go to the LVO and not play. I don't know if that's a thing you can do. But again, I've never been to Las Vegas. I don't have much desire to, maybe. I don't know. Best way to keep painting motivation. I struggle with this a lot. I'm actually struggling with this right now, to be honest. I guess it's just kind of, if you're not enjoying it, trying to force yourself to enjoy it is going to make it worse. The problem with that is, for me, it's usually I'm painting for a tournament, which means I'm under a deadline. If you're not enjoying painting and you're trying to keep the motivation up and it's just not working, stop painting and come back to it later, because otherwise you're just going to make it worse, and then you're just going to hate painting even more because you're forcing yourself to do it and it becomes a chore rather than a hobby. How are you doing in life? I feel like I need to know if you're okay, that's all, with some of your video going cursed. I am fine. This is going to be, I guess, the pulling back the curtain slightly. When I make those videos, it does come from a place of some reality, like the most recent one going crazy about unfinished projects. That is something that I do struggle with. But making those videos and going crazy like that and making those edits is the most fun I have when making a video. It's so fun and so funny to see the reaction. So if you enjoy those kind of things, please let me know, because I love making those. But I am fine. Legitimately, if I wasn't fine, I wouldn't make that kind of stuff. If I wasn't fine, I probably wouldn't have the motivation, or it probably would affect me more to make that kind of thing. But when I'm making them, I'm generally smiling when making them or laughing with some of the bits I put in. You prefer Noise Marines or Flawless Blades? Noise Marines, I think they're really cool. Which faction do you think most needs a range update, refresh, or filling out? Update Grey Knights. If Grey Knights get an update to be more of the scale of the rest of the power armor, I'm in trouble, because I love Grey Knights. It's just the Grey Knight Terminator are a little bit small. Filling out, though, maybe Grey Knights again, but Drukhari need filling out, because half of their shit doesn't exist. What is the SP velocity of an unladen swallow? I don't know, African or European. I think I answered that last year. Maybe in the year before. I think everyone asks that every year. What do you think of GW's slow but consistent price increase throughout the recent years? I don't get too much into this, but it is kind of with inflation, so it's capitalism. Everything is going up. Have you seen house prices recently? See the price of bread? Jesus Christ. What's your go-to lunch when you go to tournaments? Most of my tournaments are right next to a Sainsbury's, so usually a Sainsbury's sandwich, like a meal deal. It's usually some sort of all-day breakfasty type sandwich or a wrap with some pork pies and drink. And I usually buy a chocolate bar as well. Other tournaments generally have food in various places. Actually, Celtic Super Major, I also bought a sandwich from both times. Yeah, probably sandwiches, to be honest. I built a Lehman Russ tank. Can you forgive me? Never. Is looking at Rogal Dawn a sin? Yes. We've seen your special army ideas for 40k. What would be your special army in Age of Sigmar? I don't know enough about Age of Sigmar to really think about a silly army. I do want to play my Gits as just pretty much all squigs, like all the different types of squigs, which is fun. But I don't know. I'll have to look into it. I'm sure there's some very silly things I can do, like full Croxigors or something. How have you been dealing with the shift from more conventional work to creation online? Have you gotten used to being the driving force of your work without a boss looking over your shoulder? What about the fact that you're now always on the clock, as it were? The lack of proper vacation time? It can certainly grind you down over time, so I hope you have things that allow you to detach away from your work and unwind. It's actually been not too bad, because it doesn't... This is going to sound, I guess, weird. It just doesn't feel like a job yet. The fact that I'm off the clock basically means that I'm editing and painting and doing all these things just all the time. So it doesn't feel like I'm trying to stick to a 9 to 5, so I kind of try and keep evenings free, but it's not, I'm not doing that too brilliantly. Like this past weekend, I've been doing a lot of editing, but that's because I enjoy doing it. So it's just something, it's just a hobby still. And I know it's still my work, but it's not, the novelty hasn't worn off yet, which I think is good. Whether that might happen, I don't know, which is kind of why I started the gaming channel. It's been nice to be able to go, I'm stuck on this editing for a Warhammer video. Let's go and do a Timberborn video. And being able to swap like that has actually improved stuff. I don't know if I'm the driving force of my work. I think the driving force is actually you guys. So as long as you keep watching, I'll keep making. Please don't stop watching, because otherwise I'll have to find a real job. My god, please don't stop watching. And please don't stop like, comment, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuffing either. Thank you for watching these past 3 years, and thank you to all of my members and patrons for the continued support on keeping this channel going. You can join them, or buy my merch, or share the videos, or go watch my gaming channel, all that stuff. Just never ever stop watching me. I've never stopped watching you.